Okay, good evening, everyone. Welcome, welcome, welcome. If you can just let me know if you can hear me, and just to take the sound for the call, you can type in the chat on the top right-hand corner. Thank you, Chris. Hi, guys. Hi, Malcolm. Hi, Chris. Hi, everyone. We're just about to get started in about, let's say, 30 to 60 seconds. We've got Craig already on the line. So before we do that, for those who are jumping in for the very first time, just to mention a couple of things before we get started. I mean, I know that you're probably listening to this and you are on your computer or on your laptop. Switch off your Facebook, your Gmail. This is your time to take some notes, because let me tell you, Mr. Craig Sweet is bringing the heat tonight. So make sure you have a notepad and a pen and switch off your Facebook, your Instagram, I don't know, your Gmail, and just focus for the next 20 minutes. Okay, this is gonna be a short call with Craig Sweet. And before I introduce you with Craig Sweet, okay, while the people are still jumping in on the call, one thing that I can tell you is this, that let me see the sound. Yeah, so okay. So that one thing is this, that we got coming up, okay, the view from the edge in Florence. And what I can tell you is this: if you have questions, okay, this is what we're going to do after Craig is going to do his speech. If you have a question, you can type it in on the chat box, okay, on the chat box, once again on the top right hand corner. So we're going to allow 5 minutes. We're gonna select the top 3 questions. So make sure your question is something that we can address, especially Craig Sweet is going to address, and we'll take it from there. So one of the quotes that Craig always mention is this: winners aren't scared of losing, but losers are. Failure is the DNA process of success. Those who avoid failure also avoid success. Tonight on the call, we've got Mr. Craig Sweet. He's an author, serial entrepreneur, international speaker, a father, and a mentor with over 20 years experience in network marketing industry. He's a marketing director, very close to hit regional marketing director. He's from the Lone Star, Texas, but tonight he's in Florida, down south in Florida. Mr. Craig Sweet, if you can hear me, take it away, brother.
Thank you so much, man, and really appreciate you guys getting on and taking your Sunday out to get on a call and listen and get some information. I'm not going to take a lot of your time up, but I do want to cover some basic things. And I'll just kind of go back and forth with Gordon as far as your questions, because I'm actually on my cell. As Gordon stated, it's a tough business. I had to come all the way from Dallas down to Florida. I tell you, I know that you guys are probably feeling sorry for me that I'm, it's 88 degrees down here. It's kind of funny because I told these guys that, they will not have any problem getting people to come and support them if they'll just grow it in Florida. Florida is probably one of the most designated places that everybody wants to be, is down here in South Beach. And it's just been a real treat to come down and spend some time and have beautiful weather, beautiful beaches, and get a chance to experience what I consider the mecca of our product, which is the travel aspect. I came to Florida to meet with my team here, and I got a guy that just put in a couple of weeks ago that's put in about 20 people over the last few days, and really excited about his growth. And I told him, if he hit a certain mark, that I would be there, and I'm here. We had a super Saturday yesterday with Carlos Rogers. Carlos just got off of a cruise ship with about 900 of his team members from Team Vision, and it ported right here in Fort Lauderdale. And so they had a super Saturday with him, and so they just went and picked him up right from the ship, which was very admirable for him to actually, take his time and getting off of a cruise ship with that many people. And I'm sure he worked himself, ragged, on that cruise. But to leave that situation and people in Florida, it was just a really big treat. So saying that, I'm going to jump right into the call. And again, I'll get some questions after I finish up, but I want to go back to elementary. I'm sure that you guys, everybody on this call is, adults, and haven't probably, can't hardly even remember grade school. But I want to take you back to your ABCs. I want to make it real super simple. I want you guys to listen to my voice and understand that if we keep our business basic, as easy as ABC, we're going to have a lot of success. Now, I say ABCs, and I know that it's probably frightened some people to think that they're getting ready to take a school lesson, but I just want to take you to the A's, and let's talk about a few things that most people don't. Let's act. What is A? A stands for access, accessibility. And the reason why I say that is because you're in business, and you remember, you're in business for yourself, but not by yourself. And we want to make sure that everybody that's listening to my voice, that you stay accessible to your business. Stay accessible to your business. Now, what does that mean, Craig? What are you trying to say? What I'm trying to say, guys, is that we have accessible business, that you have to access it in order for it to work for you. And so you've heard the old phrase that you have to plan the work and then you go and work the plan. And so we want to break this thing down and make it real simple, super simple for everybody. And access, what are you accessing? We want to make sure that you can access your back office. We want to make sure that you can access your customer service information. We want to make sure that you have fully access to your people, access to your, to your tree. Make sure that you understand what's going on, in the binary system. When you have a left team and a right team, you have a tree there that's viewable in your back office. There's all types of access that you have in your back office. One is your report card. We have reports that you can actually see exactly. Understand that if you treat this business like a multi-million-dollar business, ladies and gentlemen, it'll pay you like one. But if you treat it like it's a thing, or it's just one of those, hobbies, it will pay you like one. And so I want you guys to get really focused on access. I want you to access where you're at. Know exactly what you're after. If you're, if you're in a systematic situation where you're ready to take your business to the next level. And I say that because everybody has a choice to do that. There's nobody that's listening to my voice live or on this recording that is not accessible to say, you know what, it's time for me to rank up. I want you guys to understand that, going to the next rank is a choice. It's a choice that you have to make. And so when you make that choice, I want you to be accountable, and I want you to know exactly where you're at. I want you to understand that if it's 30-30 like Stefan did, an incredible mark. I think that's where most people start actually, finding themselves, in business when they hit that mark, because they know that it's real. The residual income is real. They start really seeing some things. So accessing your business, accessing your back office, accessing, the company information. You guys are over in Malta, and, y'all don't have it as convenient as some people have it over in the States. We can go right down the street and go to the corporate office, and I can buy signs, and I can buy push plays, DVDs. I can pick up magazines. I can sit around and bump into Wayne Nugent, our visionary officer. I can do all types of things. There's 7 IMDs in Dallas, Texas alone, where I live. And so I have access to those people. I have access to them. But a lot of people don't. So what you do have access to, ladies and gentlemen, is our systems. So make sure that you're accessing everything that's out there. Now, let's move on to the next A. And what is that? The next A for me is to have access to something that most people don't take advantage of. And that's just being accountable. You got to be accountable. And I say that, and the reason why is because, you might have a meeting that's going on, at a hotel or, at a business setting, and you got to be accountable to your teammates. You got to be accountable to the team, that's there. You got to be accountable to your cross line. You say, well, you know what? I'm not going to go this week because I don't have a guest. My feet hurt. I had a long day at work. And you're not being accountable if you have that attitude. Why? Because you might not have a guest, but always remember this, and you can quote me on this. The meeting, if you have guests, you need the meeting. If you don't have the guest, the meeting needs you. Now, what that means is there's some individuals that they might have a guest out, and if you're not there, you might be the very one person that is needed in order for their person to say, you know what, if that guy or if that young lady can do it, I can do it. It might just be that one handshake and smile that they needed in order to make them feel comfortable and make them feel like they're part of a business model that's going to work. So imagine if there's 25 people that are there participating in the meeting, and 24 of them decide that they're not coming that week because they don't have a guest. So the one person that has two guests out, it's just them and their two guests. How awkward would that be? Don't you think that they need to see some other people that's growing, and other people that are having success, and other people that are believing in their business? So be accountable. Accountability is very, very key in your business. It's another A to think about. And I'd like to just move on, because I think that once you become accountable, that's going to help you with your belief system. So let's move over to the B's. Your belief system is very, very powerful as well, because you have to believe in the company. You have to believe in customer service. You have to believe that the trips exist. You have to believe that when you get to that location, that they're going to check you into that dream trip. You have to believe that the transports that's there holding those signs that says Dream Trippers, welcome. You got to believe that they exist. You have to believe that there's a transportation system that's going to get you over to the resort. All that we have, ladies and gentlemen, you have to believe in. And once you start believing in your business and believing in the process, oh my gosh, everything is it's just going to take flight for everybody. And so belief is very, very key. I didn't only just believe in everything that was out there. I mean, of course, I believed in Wayne's vision, and I believed, in the whole process and the systems that we have in place. But most of all, I believed in me. I believed that I do it. So I believe that a lot of people see, a glass of water, half empty. But some people believe that it's half full. It's just all in perception, and it's in the perception of where you're at and what you speak. So you got to start really believing, in a real positive way. I always say that people think on both sides of their brain, and the right side is saying one thing, but the left side is saying another. And I just encourage everybody to, to start, thinking from the right side, and start understanding that, some people say, well, what if it doesn't work? What if that guy is up in front of the room? What if what he's saying is not true? What if I pay my money and I lose it? What if I go on a trip and when I get there, I can't get back home? And then that's that left side of the brain talking. So let's go over to the right side, and let's look at it another way. What if it does? What if everything that this guy is saying is true? What if that trip does exist? What if I miss out on this opportunity? What if? See, there's always two sides to the coin. And we want to make sure that you guys start to look out and start viewing from the right side of your brain. because there's always greatness in the right side of your brain. So just remember that. And so when you start believing and you start understanding everything, then you kind of start having different behaviors. And so that behavior in that next B is very, very important as well, because you start behaving like a leader. You start having different, understandings of what's about to take place. You start really going to functions, and, those that are registered for Florence, we know that view is going to be one of the most powerful views that you've ever seen. Here in Baltimore was absolutely incredible, here in the States, and it was just an incredible time. Everybody got their breakthrough. That's another B. And if you're looking for a breakthrough, you got to start changing your behaviors. And so get into that function and get into the understanding that if you start behaving different, everything kind of starts to take off for you. And what it does is it creates what? The next letter, C, change. It starts giving you an understanding that, like I said, if you want something different, you got to do it. And change is often, looked at as negative because it's different. That's why most people look at network marketing in a negative sight. Why? Because it's different. See, we're not trading hours for dollars. We're not, training people to learn the process of going in when someone tells you need to be there, and you have a potty break at a certain time, and so that's what time you're going to need to go potty, at 10. Oh, and you're going to be hungry at 11:30. Oh, I'm sorry, 11:45 tomorrow. But you just ate breakfast. But it doesn't matter. You start training your brain to start understanding that that's the time that you're going to be hungry, because that's the time that they gave you. You start understanding that it's time to get back in the car and drive home, and I got to deal with this traffic on the way in. Those are things that are changeable. You can actually change those circumstances if you start changing your thinking. And what that means is you're going to start communicating, the next C. So you're going to communicate differently. You're going to start talking more to your people. You're going to stay in touch, doing things like this call, more often. You're going to keep people on the same page and understanding the power when people are speaking the same language. Ladies and gentlemen, I've been very fortunate to be involved with World Ventures for the last 4 years, and life has been just absolutely phenomenal. This is the very best company that I've ever experienced. And I've always kept it real simple in my brain. I've always kept it as simple as A, B, and C. And just to summarize in just one statement, I love the fact that, I can have access to everything that I want in my business. All I got to do is just access it. It's all up to me. And what that's going to do is make me accountable. And I surely love to be accountable, to the things that I really believe in. Because when I believe, it changes my behavior. And it gives me the understanding that I can control, my breakthroughs. And then once I, get my breakthroughs done, I'm ready for change. And all I'm doing now is just communicating what I just spoke on in the last 15 minutes. And so I want you guys to understand that your business is simple as A, B, and C. Let's make sure that we get back to the basics and make sure that we start thinking in a very positive way. Congratulations to Jamie. I think Jamie put in like 6 people in just a very short time period, like 10, 12 days, which is awesome. Stefan, I understand that this guy is an absolute stud. He's a trainer. He has experience and he understands what he has his hands on. And we're getting ready to take this thing to the next level. And we're looking for people like Stefan. We're looking for people like, Chris and Gordon and Malcolm and all of the leaders that are there. We're looking for individuals that are ready to step up and take your business to the next level. I believe in Malta. And I believe in Malta so much that I know for a fact that, our next event, is going to be United. And there's going to be some individuals that are going to break through all of their challenges, is going to get to Orlando, Florida. And we're going to have an absolute fantastic time. and we're going to have some fun, and we're going to see the new vision for our next 10 years. You know, it took us about right at 9.5 years to hit our first billion. It's going to take us the next 12 months to hit our second billion. See, those are facts. See, facts tell and stories sell. And so the facts are very simple. You know, we're a $1 billion company that's been in business for almost 10 years on December the 9th. And so we're not a company that, you know, it might work. We're a company to be reckoned with. We are truly the running giants of the travel industry. We're the Mary Kay of travel. Exactly what Wayne Nugent has always said from the front of the stage. He's always said that was his desire. And the reason why is because Mary Kay is a running giant. Doesn't matter what people think. I don't care what makeup you have, what kind of technology you create. You know, there's not another makeup company that's going to ever be a challenge to Mary Kay. You know, she's the running giant in makeup. Baton back to Gordon. I appreciate you guys. I'd like to just take a couple of questions so we can go ahead and close this call out and let people get back to their Sunday.
Wow, awesome. Thank you very much, Craig. Absolutely. I'm still writing my notes here. So guys, if you have any question, okay, any question that you can type in the chat box right now. So we're going to allow 5 minutes of Craig's sweet valuable time as well, just to ask him any question. Maybe something that is bothering you in the business, maybe some objections that you aren't able to handle, anything of this sort. You've got 5 minutes. If you type fast, that's an extra thing, an extra bonus for you. I've got a question for Craig before we will leave it up to the guys as well. So, I mean, we heard a lot about even in the trainings about the game plan. So maybe any suggestion on a couple of things that you recommend to others when you design, when you sit down with them, they got started, and you do the game plan with them, Craig?
Yeah, I mean, game planning is very crucial. You know, what we want to do is make sure that we, you know, sit down and help a person create that list of names. We want a person to put about 20 names on a piece of paper. But at the end of the day, why don't we go down to the to the corner store, to the supply store, office supply store, and pick up some transparency type of paper. You know, that carbon copy paper that has when you write into it, it gives you 2 pages. And so that way, when they're making their list, and you're going to ask them some just key questions, and those questions know that if you had a car problem in the middle of the night, it's 2:00 in the morning, who do you know that could come get you? Oh, Charles. Okay. So you write Charles down on a piece of paper for that person. You know, who do you know that you thought was going to be very successful when you were in high school? Who do you remember? Okay, Susan. Okay, and then you write her name down. And then you go through that list of asking them questions. Who do you know that's been in the military? Who do you know that loves to give back? You know, start asking those key questions to help create that list of about 20 names. Before you know it, you're going to ask them a few questions, and I'm telling you, the names are going to flow on that paper, and you'll have about 100 names before you're done. And then what you do is you start going back and matching up these names with phone numbers. So basically what we're doing is we're fishing for dollars. And a lot of times it's not about the individual that you just signed up. It's literally about their contacts. And that to me is something that's very key and very important, Gordon. It's for everybody to start helping people create that list of names. Don't put the pressure on them to create it themselves and get back with you. What you want to do is work with them and ask those questions. And that way, if I sit down with ask you, who do you know that was successful in college? Who do you know that, that works on cars, if I start asking you just a series of questions and you're just, we're just doing some name jogging stuff, what ends up happening is you're just talking to them normal. You're not really putting a pressure on them to actually do an assignment. You're just asking them some questions. And when you ask those questions, they're answering them. And then what you're going to do is you're going to write that down on that carbon paper, and you're going to have a list and they're going to have the list. And so, I was, at this training yesterday, and I tell you, I was listening to Carlos Rogers, and Carlos said that, when a person first signs up, I look at them with both eyes. And he said, one side of my right eye is saying, man, you're going to kill this thing. You're going to be an IMD in 6 months. It's going to be, oh my gosh. But then his left eye is saying, you're going to quit in 3 days. You're not gonna ever come to any meetings. You're gonna make all the excuses not to win. And so if you always keep in mind that it can go both ways, if you have that list, you can always go back and say, I'm a friend of Willie's, and Willie told me that you were absolutely the type of person that we were looking for in our new business venture that we're doing here. We just launched a project here in Malta, and Willie was telling me how sharp you were, and I was just wondering, man, what do you do for a living? Of course, people like to hear themselves talk, and so that's going to help you create that synergy. And so you can make calls with that new person, or you can make calls away from that new person. Either way, you're going to help your business. So hopefully that helped and added some value with the question in detail for you, Gordon.
Fantastic. Yes, sir. Yes, sir. So thank you for that. We've got a couple of questions actually, Craig, that popped up. The first one is from Andrea. Andrea asked, when you are stuck for a few hours or some days, what would you do? What would you do to lift yourself up and do the action?
I just what I do, guys, is I try to always think positive. And I always, like I said, I treat my business like it's a multi-million-dollar business. And I mean, I know that there are some circumstances, that you might drive through of a McDonald's, and it might be wrapped around the building. And then there's moments that you drive by a McDonald's and there's nobody in line. The manager, the owner, is not sitting there saying, oh my God, what am I going to do? I mean, should we close the doors? I mean, should we run a special? I mean, so what I try to do is I treat my business like I would treat that McDonald's. I mean, I would just make sure that, for the next customer that comes in, that I'm going to give them the best attention, the best to be attentive to them. And I'm going to make sure that I'm reading and I'm staying plugged into all of the tools. I'm reading magazines, the Voyager. I'm making sure that I got all the Success University type of equipment that that we give out, and that's in the process of what we have our hands on. All the DVDs that come in the Success magazines, all of that stuff, are tools that you can actually just keep yourself motivated. And so I would never think on, that's that left side of the brain. I try to stay away from that side as often as possible. I mean, sometimes you're going to be there and you're not going to be motivated. And it's okay. I mean, you don't have to be, 24/7, you don't have to be in full gear. You got to have balance, and you got to understand that every day is not going to be, I've been in Florida for the last 5 days, and, it has rained like crazy, but then it has been beautiful. And the rain did not kill the beauty of when it got nice. It's nice. I didn't cry when it rained, but I wasn't, it wasn't the place that I wanted to be, because it was pouring down yesterday. To a point where I couldn't hardly see when we were driving. But then moments later, the sky was clear. It's a beautiful night. We went out on a yacht. It's just one of those things that, you have to just get in tune with yourself and understand the big picture. And so if you just visualize, get your vision board and start understanding that there's some success that's out there waiting on you, but we're praying for people that's praying for us. So, keep that in mind, Andrea, and I know that everything's going to work out for you.
Fantastic. Awesome. We've got another question. If you guys, we can allow another final question after this one of Gary's. So if not, we're going to conclude with Gary's question, which is, how would you rekindle the flame with people who are still active but are not attending any events?
Yeah, that's really a good one. People that, I have a lot of people on my team that, see, that's what this call is for. You got to hear from some leaders, and you got to hear from some different people, and you got to put some freshness, and you got to have some good reports to give people. And a lot of times, what ends up happening is, let's just say a person like wherever Stefan, wherever he landed, there's some individuals that, that benefited from his sales. There's 60 new people on their team. So every once in a while, you might want to send them a little message and say, hey, guy, I'm not sure if you realize, but you got 12 new sales on your team. I came down to Florida and I put, a couple of people in, and I tell you what, those couple have turned into 20 people in the last couple of weeks. Have you been in your back office? So I do a lot of things like that. But one thing that I've learned, and I've learned this with a special eye, and that's that you have to love people where they're at. We don't want to ever push people. We want to always let them know, and you don't want to bug them, but you want to just keep them in the know that everything is going really good. I'm so excited that you've decided to stay active with us, or I'm so excited that you got your 4. But man, I tell you what, there's some incredible things that's happening. In fact, we got a Super Saturday that's coming up this next week, and I would like to just invite you to come out and get an update on what's going on. See, those are the kind of conversations that can spark. And as Carlos Rogers stated yesterday, we're really just looking for, 2 or 3 great meetings in your career. And believe me, ladies and gentlemen, when I heard this kid say that, Carlos is a really wise young man, and you don't really have to have thousands and hundreds of thousands of people in order to get hundreds of thousands of people. You just have to have 1 or 2 great meetings. And if you haven't had one yet, it's coming. Just keep on swinging the bat. It's coming. And you're going to meet some people that's going to be very transparent business. So just keep up your faith and make sure that you keep that belief level up, and everything's going to work out for you.
Fantastic. Okay, guys. So that's all for this call. We don't have any more questions. So thank you once again to Craig Sweet. Guys, please type in your takeaways on Facebook, on our Facebook group in Malta group. See what's the best takeaway that you got from tonight's call. Once again, thank you for being here on the call. Make sure that you forward this call, which will be which has been recorded as well. And I'll see you on the next one. Thank you for being here. Have a good evening, guys. Thank you once again, Craig Sweet. And see you on the next one. God bless, guys. Take care. Bye-bye.